Not long ago, I did a wedding and attended the reception also. And it wasn't long before I found that there was some kind of rift that was going on with some of the family members there. You could tell that some didn't want any part of each other, they weren't talking to each other. And I thought to myself, not only how sad that is, but how often I have encountered that throughout my priesthood also. I've encountered it at weddings, at baptisms, at funerals, at parties, and all kinds of other family and social gatherings also. That is, what happens, of course, is, something perhaps very hurtful is said or done, and so hurt and anger and resentment builds up. No one perhaps is trying to really take the first step towards reconciliation, and so people start just not talking to each other or just avoid that other person also. I would bet that everyone here can probably count at least a few times in their lives on earth when they've been certainly wronged, hurt by someone else, whether it was a family member or someone else. But you can probably point to times we have all been really hurt, right? I mean, and I, as a priest, is certainly no different as well. I can recall at least several times that I have been either harshly criticized, harshly judged, or falsely accused also. It is that's just the human nature of us all. We've all been hurt. So what is the answer, though? Not long ago, I was changing channels on TV, and I came across the Dr. Phil show. Now, I can't say I'm a big fan, and nor do I watch him all the time, but I just started watching what was happening because there was a woman on the show that the story was she was severely hurt by her mother and her sister also, and so they weren't talking to each other. So I actually even looked up the episode and wrote down what his exact quote was, because I thought what he said to her was very powerful. And at first he acknowledged the fact that, there's without a doubt, her anger and her hurt were justified because, so he did acknowledge the fact that, she had a right to feel, and it was normal for her to feel anger and to feel hurt. But then he said something very interesting. And as I am old now, I need my glasses. I remember the days when I didn't need them. And so he turned to her, and then he said, "But if you think you can keep your anger and resentment and direct it only at your mother and your sister, but on the other hand be warm and loving to your daughter and others, you are wrong. Your anger, bitterness, and coldness will follow you wherever you go. They become part of your personality. You're like a skunk that brings its smell with it wherever it goes and affects those it's near. It's time to let go and forgive, not just for their sake, but for yours and your daughters and others also." Interesting. We all know that as a Christian, we're called to have mercy and forgiveness on others. And we know that our Lord has taught it doesn't matter how many times we've been wronged, and nor should it matter if someone doesn't ask for our forgiveness or if someone doesn't deserve it either. That is the challenge of our Christian faith. And it is a challenge for us all. That is why St. Paul tells us, "My brothers and sisters, what good is it to profess to have faith but not put that faith into practice with works?" That is, in other words, the real test of our faith comes in the big moments where it's hard, where it's challenging, where we've been hurt, we've been wronged. That is, those are the times we are supposed to try to rise above it and really cling to our faith and put it into practice, because that is the test of our faith more than anything else. Today, our Lord not only asks his apostles back then, but he asks us the question, or he asks every disciple in every day and age, who do you say that I am? And how we answer this is not so much with our words, because words don't mean everything and anything. That is, but how we answer that question every moment of our lives, every action we take or fail to take, everything we do. That is, how we live our lives is really how we answer that question, who do you say that I am? And as they say, actions speak louder than words. Now, certainly it's not easy. Let's not pretend when it comes to forgiveness that it's easy. That's probably one of the most challenging things of our faith, you know. It's very hard. But sometimes we need to. Sometimes our faith tells us that we need to let go of the anger, of the hurt, of the resentment, of our pride in order to follow our Lord. That is, we must remember that we are really not called to be like everyone else, but we are called to be like Christ. And as Christ allowed, although he could have stopped at any time, but as he allowed himself to be crucified before he rose to new life, so too sometimes you and I have to allow ourselves to be crucified also, so that we may rise to new life with him. The gospel today obviously tells us who Christ is. That is, Christ reveals to us who he truly is. But I think our gospel today also has a lot to do with not only who Jesus is, but who you and I need to be. And our Lord makes it very clear as he tells us, if you wish to follow me, you must reject yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. It's not easy. It is challenging. But sometimes discipleship calls for us to let go, perhaps of anything and everything else, that is, in order to gain the one thing that truly matters, the one thing that is more important than anything else, and that is Christ, and that is our faith, and that must come before anything and everything else. And therein lies our peace, and therein lies our joy also. Perhaps in a very ironic way, that is, our Lord doesn't ask us today, who do you say that I am, or who am I? But rather, perhaps he's really asking, who are you?